Hello, Street Fighters. Are you ready to rumble or whatever their catchphrase is whenever you start a battle and and that shit?
Round one,
Yeah,
fight.
Yeah,
we're fighting
yeah.
in the streets, but only in the streets of Hollywood. We are talking about Street Fighter the movie tonight. It is Campaign Comrades. We are here.
Fighter in the
Uh,
streets, guile in
I
the
would
sheets.
I would like that Ben said tonight, but I would just like to
It's
let
early
the
in the morning.
listeners know that it's 10:30 in the morning.
Same thing.
Yeah.
To me, to my brain right
Good
now.
morning,
Yeah.
Ossifer.
Ben looks very sleepy.
That's just normally my eyes are that kind of squinty. Yeah, we are covering I think it's 1994, yes, action
Was.
film Street Fighter starring Jean-Claude Van Damme and
I
Raul
would just
Julia. Basically, are we gonna call him his character name M. Bison, or is he just Gomez? Is he just Gomez
Bison.
Adams? Because that's who it is. It's Gomez
Dude.
Adams.
He killed
Amazing.
this.
Absolutely.
He eats every scene he is in. Just so good.
R.I.P. to the GOAT. This is his last
Yeah.
theatrical release before he died to cancer. But yeah, he put way more effort than this movie required of him. But
Oh man.
than everyone in the movie combined.
but you could tell that he was like giving effort, but like having a good time doing
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was having so
wasn't
much fun.
It wasn't that he was like taking himself super seriously. That like, oh, I am a thespian. I must approach every project with
He was just
artistic
vibing.
integrity. He was just chewing scenery and having a good time.
I mean,
True.
I knew
His-
I knew he was in for a good time when he snapped those two necks at the beginning.
Yeah. Dude, when he delivers a great line, Chun-Li just explains her entire motivation
yeah.
for vengeance.
Is
And
that
he's
the
like,
first time that
to you-
line was used?
To you, that was the
I don't-
most important day of your life.
I
But to
don't know.
me,
Because I know
it was
that
Tuesday.
line's been used in
So
lots
good.
of lots
it's a
of
meme. It's
different
a
media.
meme nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they put
Great
that
line.
one alongside, and you like honestly, this one is 10 times better. But like the current version, the Zoomer version of it now is the Thanos. I don't even know who you are type of thing. It's the same. It's the same.
Same energy.
Yeah, because
Idea.
it's like talking about like how you ruined my
or
life,
to
like you
connect to that generation, same type beat, yo.
Yeah, you do all these things, and yes, that was just a Tuesday.
I would like to
Uh,
say that this movie to me was a masterclass in film. It was beautiful, despite like most of the acting being dog shit.
This movie
like,
gave me so much Power Rangers vibes.
yes.
yes.
They just like didn't have like the costumes
Costuming,
were just
set
toned down.
design.
Were toned down just enough to not fully move into Power Rangers territory, but like you're onto something there. That there is a palpable Power Rangers vibe to it. Part of it, I think, is the dubbing. There's some bit that's dubbed, whereas this is, you could tell that some actors were just dubbed in post, not because of language things. Like Rita Repulsa and Goldar being part of like an original Japanese production, having to be dubbed in English. But there definitely is that vibe. Like, there's one example that would always stick out in my head was there's like this one. He's probably named at some point, but one of the, what do they call it? The AN instead of the UN.
The AN.
The AN. The AN.
Same color scheme too.
It's like one of the officers is from Japan, and the dubbing for him is so bad. And
But even like you could tell there's a couple scenes where they're like when they're storming the M Bison's fortress at the end, and like it's a far away shot of them running up like into the entrance, and you could tell that they're doing like post production, like voiceover, adding lines in, and it's just like terribly done there as well. But I wanted to point out also the shots in the movie, like the direction and like the camera work. I thought it was actually pretty good, and like pretty good for an action movie because you got like a variety of different
See,
close-up
for
shots.
me, there was like some. This movie had like some really high highs and some really low lows, and it was like kind of disappointing to me because it's directed by Stephen E. D'Souza, the guy behind like some like truly classic action films of the 80s and 90s. Like he did Commando with Arnold. He did Commando, The Running Man, also
Fantastic.
also
He did the
with
screenplay
Arnold.
for Die Hard.
Die Hard. He did Judge Dredd. Some like
Classic.
classic like
Yeah.
B tier action movies that like stand out. Whereas this one like this definitely seemed like it got swallowed by the what it was trying to reproduce in terms of it being an adaptation. Where just like throwing in so many we have to like we have the biggest thing that they did for tie-in was just like characters. Like this is ostensibly an adaptation of Street Fighter 2, but like Street Fighter 2 didn't have a real plot. It was just something to do with M Bison creating a
Super
fighting
soldier thing.
tournament to select the best fighters to work in his organization, so he could brainwash them to work it for his group in his pursuit of world domination. That's it. So the
Honestly,
conceit
that
is just the
that might have been
tournament.
a better movie.
It's why the original Mortal Kombat is actually a good movie adaptation, because it's just like, yeah, we're on a fucking tournament. It's just like
Yeah.
it doesn't try to do too much in
And
terms
like
of
every good anime, it's got to have a
making a
tournament
plot.
arc.
Yeah. So, but that's why I think
Yeah,
original Mortal Kombat is better as a movie.
Oh yeah,
agreed. And like because a
this
lot
was
of
the
the
movie for
character
me.
stories got lost.
This was a movie for me where 3 times I noted it down distinctly. I looked down, it's like, oh, it's probably been like 45 minutes, an hour, or something like that. It was like, it's been 22 minutes. Like, holy shit, this movie is
But
dragging.
it is
It
Okay,
did
I
lose me a couple
hour,
times. It did lose me a
like an
couple
hour
times where
40
I
movie.
started
I
looking at my phone and had to pull myself back in.
honestly, I'm generally surprised by the two of your reaction to this because I thought this nailed camp in a fantastic
Well,
way.
there are parts of it that I really
Yeah.
loved, and like I'll get to them. I don't
Oh,
want to
it has its high points, but
I
the
don't want
lows,
to
like you
jump.
said,
I don't want to jump the gun here on some of my like. There are actually some really funny jokes in here,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
and not like in that is unintentionally funny. Like some like actually some really good jokes that land. Um,
yeah, like they fly now. That's a
yeah,
funny joke.
it's not. I mean, there's plenty of unintentional funny shit, but like here's the thing. Like my main thing is like, who thought that Jean-Claude was a good actor? Who
Also,
thought
No
why
one.
is
I
he
don't think it,
why
I don't
is
think
he a general in like an American army?
no,
that
he's in the
was
AN.
no,
That is
no,
something
But he
that
has an American. No, he
that's
has an
one of the
American
funniest bits,
patch
and I
on.
wanted I
he's
wanted
American,
I wanted to I
apparently.
wanted to bring up is that
Yeah.
yeah, apparently it's because he's playing Guile, who is an American. It's very
Yeah,
much that's
Yeah.
part of his identity.
But
But
just
he
But like,
can't
any
even
straight
he
pretend.
never
fucking
once did
yeah.
a hair beam. So
but like
He,
the
Like
I
no
was
no one has
paying
an
accent.
I
American
was paying
accent.
attention. I was paying attention to the different troops their see their shoulder patch to see where they were from, and was just like, yeah, astounded to be like, they're trying to convince me that this obvious European man is is American. Did you guys then notice when he takes his jacket off, he's got an obviously water sticker American flag
Yes,
tattoo
yes.
right
yes,
under it? But
That was when I realized I didn't notice the patch
Yes.
earlier.
yeah,
It wasn't till then that I was like, oh, they actually made his character American. That's hilarious.
we should have just made him Belgian.
Yeah, they're part of it. Whatever. Who cares?
Guile sounds like a European name
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
It would have pissed off so many people though, so I get
Mhm.
why they didn't do it.
But it was also
Yeah, it was-
1994. Like,
Yeah,
who
there's
are
no
they
internet
pissing
to be
off?
mad on.
Yeah, there's like a niche corner of the internet. Like, it's like two nerds in their basement talking to each other.
Yeah, people on the internet at that point like probably do care about this kind of stuff, but they're also rich enough that it doesn't bother them, that they realize it doesn't affect their, you know,
No,
And
their
their
the
world,
brain-
the
Like,
their
talk at the
worldview.
roasting's not a
arcades,
thing yet.
Yeah, and
the
their
talk
brain
at the
hasn't been
arcades and the
melted.
Street Fighter tournaments would have been crazy.
True.
But here's the thing is like why I like what my major disappointments for the movie came around was largely Jean-Claude. I found him to be a charisma black hole. I thought
He was
his
horrible.
he didn't even get
Oh.
that much action stuff, which is, you know, he's an action star. That should be the point. But it's like I'm comparing him obviously in obviously from D'Souza's previous work, like you compare him to Arnold, another, you know, basically kind of a
So-
weird, you know, kind of, is he charismatic? Is he not European in Arnold? But like Arnold is, you know, is not a good actor in any way,
Yeah.
but like he's got so much
Has a
more
better
draw
performance.
to him.
So I got a question then. I got a question
movies.
for you.
Whereas like
Have
every
you
single
seen-
every single one-liner that Jean-Claude delivers, butchered. His
Yeah,
entire
so-
dialogue is exclusively made up of one-liners.
Ben,
and
I
they're
need to ask this
terrible.
question. I need to ask this question. Have you seen a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie previously?
I think I definitely have, but
I've
it's so long ago that I
Okay,
don't remember.
because
I know
that's
he's
it.
not a good actor.
No, and he doesn't have charisma. It is what he is good at is the action. So it is a complete
And they didn't give him
miscarriage.
action.
Yes, that they gave him 2 fight scenes. That is where they missed. That is purely his value as being
That's
in a
why
movie
a tournament
and
movie would have been
oiling up
better.
his abs, which they also didn't do in this film.
Yeah,
And those are the 2 big
This
misses.
film has 0 splits, so
Yes,
it's
as
it's
well.
A,
That's the
it's
third.
a
miss.
double thumbs down
Agreed.
for me. No Jean-Claude splits, so no good.
Yeah,
I just
he has
ignored
no
him
race.
throughout the movie. He was meaningless.
Me
to
too. Me too.
It was
It's like,
all M. Bison. He carried.
For me,
He
whenever
fucking
it
carried
went
that
back to
film.
Guile is when it started to lose me again.
Mhm.
Is when I felt the draw of my phone charging on the nightstand, like, pick me up, grab me.
I do. I love how he decides that the best plan of attack is to infiltrate this criminal organization on a 3-day deadline, and then they just they just get lucky to find that their prison has 2 guys that might just be able to infiltrate it. And,
yeah.
Hold on. I
was
want
very
to point
funny.
out my favorite, and we could like go into it deeper, but I just want to make sure that we do. My favorite point is when Jean-Claude Van Damme gives the fucking speech to rally the troops to ignore the orders.
Yes.
We need to circle back to that and
Well,
have a deep dive.
That was one of my favorite parts because it was not about him, but it was the beautiful noncery of like
Yes.
the AN official,
He's
the effete British guy. It's like, you've lost your balls. It's
Yeah,
like what he
yeah.
said.
yes.
It's like one of the actual good lines that he had.
Yeah, I wrote that one down because I liked it so much. He asked him if he's lost his mind. Jean-Claude Van Damme, have you lost
your balls?
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
the one good one. But so I do kind of want to go into some of the plot. I'm not gonna like go, scene for scene, but
Before we do that, I
want to do
want to make
production. I want to do a little bit about the production first.
Okay. I do just want to make a general comment on these films and media entities that use UN like military guys as badasses always crack me up. That's such a funny idea to me. The UN does not have one commando that could do shit. They have nothing. Like, that is so funny. I always just immediately
They're like European nerds in
Think about the UN.
tactical
The
gear.
UN is
Yeah.
like they have to, every country's got to send their worst soldiers to them. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
it's like if we keep them around here, they're probably going to be involved in some sort of friendly fire situation. So
Mhm.
let's just ship them off to,
Yeah.
to Belgium. You know,
Belgium, yeah.
Where if they have a friendly fire incident, it's with other people of the same ilk, and it's not really a net loss.
Yeah, send them off to Belgium. Let them eat French fries, and have a good time.
Oh,
Have a good time living in hostels.
French fries
just quick.
triggered, freedom fries.
Yeah. Quickly back to Jean-Claude being American in this film. What made me like pay attention to where he was from was when he was climbing like down the hole to like infiltrate M. Bison's forces. And he says like this is worse than ROTC. And I was like,
Yeah,
ROTC?
yeah, he does say
That's
that.
an American
No,
thing.
he says
I
4
missed it.
years of
Or
ROTC
yeah,
for this,
for
which is
this,
very
yes.
funny because you would think if you're gonna be in the military, you might be doing some sort of operations like that.
But like he only did that in college, and
Yeah.
he was getting his
Yeah.
college paid
in
for.
in ROTC, and I was like, he's American, and that's when I saw the patch and then the tattoo.
Not even that. I just assumed like this
I mean,
sicko is a Belgian guy who went to America as to join the military like some freak.
I guess I'm the only one here with Street Fighter lore and knew that Guile had to be American.
No. I
No,
have no
I
Street
knew
Fighter
that.
lore.
No, I knew that, but it was just like I knew that the character was American, but I'm like, are they really trying to stretch the imagination here and convince me that this man is not from some Western European country?
When he wood clogged onto the screen for the first time.
Eating a stroopwafel every scene.
All right, yeah. So this movie has
That
an
was good.
interesting bit of production shit behind it. Like, it seems like there was a whole lot of tax dodging and
Nice.
incentivizing and all sorts of
Nice.
weird shit going on like favors being traded and
Classic movie
Fuck yeah.
financing.
it
Yeah,
was
Hollywood.
some true movie magic here behind the scenes. So it had a budget of $35 million or 4 billion yen because it was
It's a pretty big budget for back
Yeah.
then,
because
to be completely honest.
Capcom as co-financier, they basically did most of it, which is why they give the original budget in yen.
They spent all of it on making that one stealth boat scene. That
They
is
spent
absolutely horrendous.
they spent most of it
cool,
on
though.
getting Jean-Claude and
Oh,
Ralph
amazing!
Julia.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
wasn't the
Respect,
whole thing that
respect.
They
went
spent the
above and
entire
beyond to get
they
him?
spent the entire casting budget on those two.
Okay, cool.
And
It was just to like stick it to Mortal Kombat, right? Because Mortal Kombat wanted Jean-Claude.
yeah, they wanted
Yes.
him as Johnny Cage, didn't they?
Yeah.
Also hilarious.
Another American.
Yeah.
Another American.
But at least
Yeah, but
there's
Johnny
part
Cage
of his
does split moves.
and part of his identity as he's an American. Yes, that doesn't fit, but movie star. And
Yeah.
so there would have been the
Yeah.
meta bit of having the movie star play an action movie star play an action movie star. Yeah, so they spent basically all that money, but Capcom basically financed the whole thing. Which gave them a lot of control over it, but like there was just a whole lot of wheeling and dealing, and a lot of it revolves around casting and stuff like this. It's like they had to because they spent basically the entire casting budget on these two names. Everybody else was essentially like a little known or a no name actor, but you see some people like getting some early play, like those that we still see to this day are like Byron Mann, who plays Ryu, and Ming Na Wen, who plays Chun-Li.
Who is the voice of Mulan?
I mean, I've seen her
Did
on
not
a
know
lot of
that.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, she plays May in Shield on Marvel, and then she's in like Boba Fett and The Mandalorian too.
She's in a lot. No,
She's,
she's had
triggered.
she's had a long career since then. But then they cast because they had to because they filmed largely on the Gold Coast of Australia. There was like tax things
Amazing.
involved. Like they needed to hire an Australian actor, so they hired Kylie Minogue as Cammy, who she's like the number one selling pop artist in Australian history.
Amazing.
Hilarious. Sold like 3 records.
No, she's a lot like the song like the can't get you out of my head. Ba, 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 ba. That's her. That's Kylie Minogue.
That was
She's
beautiful.
you're welcome. I just looked
Probably
it
gonna
up.
get copyright stricken.
I just looked
It was so
I don't remember
accurate.
all the lyrics behind the title, even though I just looked it up before we started recording, which is why the tune was in my head. Like I knew I recognized the name, and I'm like, where do I know her from? And it's she was a
Oh yeah.
Australian pop star.
She wasn't just Australian. She had 20 consecutive top 10 hits in the UK. Expanded across the
But
Queen's
she's
Empire.
but she's from Australia. They like Capcom forced a Japanese actor in it. They wanted him to play Ryu, but they put him in another role instead. Like D'Souza was resolute with sticking with Byron Mann for the role. I don't even remember who Sawada ended up playing.
He's one of the AN like other
Oh, okay. So he
cat
was
like
he's
official.
he's the Japanese
Yeah,
officer that I was mentioning.
Yes.
I was like, why are they highlighting this guy
That's why.
who they've clearly covered over his voice because probably most Americans can't understand his accent. And with probably one of the worst delivered dub lines in history. It's like, yeah, why are they highlighting this guy to say these really weird and stilted lines?
Is he like a fail son of like a Capcom executive or something?
He's probably just a big name in Japan at the time.
Yeah, he's been
Oh
in
yeah,
like
he's a big yeah.
he's been in Ip
Okay.
Man.
Yeah,
He's been in some
he's a
other
pretty
stuff.
big action star
You say
in
Ip Man?
I always say IP man, but
I say IP Man. Never heard it as Ip Man.
both of them refer to
It's
it.
technically Ip Man, but
I was gonna say I've only ever heard it referred to as Ip Man.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me, but even though I know it's true.
I'm with Ben on that one.
Yeah, so it's so much wheeling and dealing going around with the casting here. Just like you had to throw some favor to this guy, to this one. You had to do all sorts of shit to get
That's
these.
international deals, man.
so funny.
Look at that. It's American release, Japanese company funded, shot in Australia. Of course there's gonna be wheeling and dealing. That's why they probably had to do that because they spent all their fucking money on on Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Well, they had to.
I mean, speaking of casting, I did think it was funny that for what is ostensibly set in Southeast Asia, is the bad guy is a Puerto Rican man, and
Mhm. It was great. What the name Bison?
I love the this is obviously part of the game lore, but like calling this fictional Southeast Asian country Shadaloo was very funny to me. And did you guys clock the weird font that they used everywhere in Shadaloo, like on like the newspapers and
Mhm.
all that? It's basically taking like Thai characters or something and turning it into English for English words. It's just like
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. I didn't notice
I
that.
definitely like yeah, on every like news broadcast or
Tell you,
signage on the streets, everything's written in English but in this weird
Mm.
this like faux Asian font.
so I have an important question for you all. is this movie woke or not? Is it woke or based? What are your thoughts? Because there's I think compelling arguments for both options here.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like,
I think the fact that there's compelling arguments for both options means it's neither. It means it straddles the line
Oh, we got a
perfectly.
centrist. Okay.
That's
They-
actually a false logic.
they've triangulated the path between woke
the
and
third
based.
rail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, seeing as I don't think they gender or race swapped anybody, I think most people would say, yeah, it's not. They're not doing forced DEI, even though it's a pretty diverse cast.
Yeah.
It's also well before that was the major concern of
I think
media
the
literacy.
The biggest concern
The
that people
only
would have there would be
casting.
like, are Chun-Li's thighs thick enough, or you know, and stuff like that. That
Or
would be
why
And
is
why did Ryu
Jean-Claude
and
Van
Ken not have
Damme
enough sexual
American?
tension?
yeah.
That too.
My monitor just something just like cycled on my computer.
Don't worry about that. That's just the malware I installed.
You do look
Really?
like a hacker.
That was really weird.
Yeah, he does have the hood up with are those headphone
Indeed. Indeed.
running up
Wired
in?
headbuds.
Yeah.
Rocking classics.
That was
Yeah, you look like
concerning.
you could be I don't remember the actor's name from Mr. Robot.
Rami Malek.
Yeah.
Are you saying that Andrew looks Lebanese?
He's
No, I'm saying
Egyptian,
he's
isn't
emulating
he?
his
Isn't
outfit
he?
and like
That is-
Egyptian.
demeanor.
What did you say, Ben?
I thought Rami Malek is Egyptian.
He is Egyptian.
So yeah,
It
I
was
think
why he
you're.
was cast as the pharaoh.
I think you're.
in,
I think you're thinking of him playing. Him
Freddie
playing
Mercury.
Freddie, who is
It's Lebanese.
Lebanese, right?
he
Yeah,
played the
That's
pharaoh
probably
yeah,
what
in
I'm
Night at the
thinking
Museum
of.
2, I think.
I mean, Lebanese, Egyptian, that's pretty damn close.
Kind of, but like they are in they're in the same
They're
general
different.
region, but
I really
technically different
enjoy
continents.
The
potentially
breadbasket
torpedoing
of
the
Looks like
podcast
they're all
over a flippant
terrorists. It's
statement.
fine.
Hey, I support a free Palestine. The only terrorists are the Israeli forces. Keep that in.
Okay, yeah. So that was all the wheeling and dealing that I had seen, going on to make this one. The last thing I wanted to point out is that, D'Souza was like pretty vocal about like how he like basically he had the looming specter of the Super Mario Brothers movie, which we've also covered. Folks, go back and check the back catalog for the first video game movie adaptation that like had come out just a bit earlier than
A
that.
great one. That's true, Camp.
And he
Ever
was
since we watched that movie, it happens like once or twice a month for me. I'll wake up in a cold sweat in the middle of the night and there'll be a Goomba standing at the foot of my bed.
your sleep paralysis demon has a very small head now.
Yeah.
But he was like, this killed me. He's like, he describes the film as a cross between Star Wars, James Bond, and a war film. I'm like, dude,
Maybe
just
James Bond in a war
cool it,
film I'll give him.
cool
But
it a
the
little bit.
Star Wars
Yeah,
one,
cool it a little
crazy.
bit there, guy.
He's like, I was inspired by this fighting scrolling game to make a movie that is all movies in one.
Every single major movie ever.
It's
The
like The
culmination.
Godfather.
I said it was a
crossed
masterclass of
with-
film.
I mean, Citizen Kane really is more like the Street Fighter of its time than Street Fighter is the Citizen Kane of its time. Is all I'm saying. It's a fucking Joe Mazzulla ass answer.
All right, are we ready to kind of dissect this plot a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, for what
I
it's
mean,
worth.
the main struggle here is between M. Bison and Colonel Guile, the leader of the United AN forces.
The alliance.
Yeah,
So-
the Allied Nations.
So fucking Shadaloo is this fictional Southeast Asian country. General M. Bison is was a former drug lord turned into like the de facto dictator of this small country.
Ooh,
And
so creative.
it has captured 63. It's a weird number. It's a weird number to choose. 63 AN relief workers, and is demanding I'm doing the Dr. Evil $20 billion for their release. The initial video confrontation between Bison and Guile as he pulls up to Chun-Li, who is a reporter, and Guile's trying to do mind games with Bison via the satellite transmission, was starting off strong, but like to the point where I'm like, what the fuck is this Belgian doing? Like, just because again, like it was like the most like dialogue they tried stringing together for him that wasn't, again, just a really poorly delivered one-liner, and I was just immediately like, does he know what he's doing?
While I'm sitting
no.
there.
In terms of the character, I was like, does Guile have some plan here, or it was literally a professional wrestling diss track thing, like where they get in the ring and just make fun of each other. That's totally
doing a promo.
What it felt like. That
I was just sitting there thinking about how, like, knowing the technology of the time that they're theoretically talking about, what that conversation actually looked like was one person saying something and then waiting like
30
15
seconds.
to 15 to 30 seconds for a response.
Oh, but it's
just
basically it's the plot point that M. Bison, due to his drug profits, has like world leading technology. So he's cut that down to 12 seconds. That delay is a manageable 12 seconds.
Also, world leading swag.
I'll get to the swag because that is one of my actual favorite jokes in this movie. So they go at it. Bison
aged yourself.
Bison locks themselves in or locks the hostages in this big pit and sets a 3-day timer.
I love his pit. It's a beautiful pit. Some say it's the greatest pit that's ever been dug.
Oh, let's not forget also that the only of like the group that was captured included some of the AN troops, and the only one whose neck Bison doesn't snap happens to be Jean-Claude's best friend, Charlie Blanca, who, of course, anybody who played the game knows that Blanca is one of the characters. He's the weird green monster.
Yeah,
he's Street Fighter Hulk, folks, is basically what he is. And he gets brainwashed,
he gets hulkified
and hulkified throughout the course. That's a running
there
little subplot.
The programming material was very funny in my opinion.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
So that was one of those moments where I had looked at my phone for a second and I looked up and that was on the screen. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? It's like I had like memory hold that was a plot point that we were going to be like brainwashing Charlie.
It was a good exchange of lines when the doctor who's in charge of that thing is like, showing him all these horrors, and Bison takes looks at it. It's like, why is he so why is he so upset? Like, this is fine. It's like, well, because unlike you, he's not psychotic.
Yeah.
He just
great part. Great bit.
A good delivery by the doctor, better than I did. But
he was another one that his acting was, at least
I missed
mediocre.
the part when he lost his hair. It's like at the end of the movie when Charlie is like trying to, kill himself basically of the horrors that have been done to him. He like this doctor who's like been trying to save him, because he's a captive of bisons as well. It's like his hair is gone at the very end, and I was
He
just
crashed into the
I mean, he was
chemicals at one
balding.
point.
Oh, did it burn all his hair
So
off?
maybe, yeah, so
Turn him
maybe that's
bald?
what
Yeah.
happened.
Joker fight him.
I'm just like, what the fuck? Why is he bald now? Because it was definitely one of the points where I looked down on my phone. They made him bald. It was just an odd choice. So we like kind of smash cut to American con artists and martial artists, Ryu and Ken. They're trying to do a swindle on Victor Sagat, the one-eyed major arms dealer and supplier to M. Bison, and like the leader of Shadaloo's underground criminal underworld. And they get found out, their guns shoot tennis balls instead of real bullets, and they get then put into a fighting arena instead of just being taken out back and executed. He's just like, you know what? Instead of I'm gonna do my evil plan, and instead of murdering you here, I'm going to make you fight in my
Isn't
blood
that an
sport
actual
burner.
Austin Powers point when his son is like, Dad, we can just kill them right now
that's
instead
what I
of
was
putting them in like an escapable situation?
yeah, that's what I was trying to imply. Yeah, so like
Well, you see, this is an audio podcast, so people can't hear you putting a pinky up to your mouth.
um there's the ring champion is another one of the Street Fighter characters. Is it I pronounced Vega? Probably. I have no idea. He's got a claw hand.
Yeah,
That's
Vega.
yeah, and then
Love a good claw
and then
hand.
fucking Guile like saves the day. They don't get killed in the ring by driving a huge fucking tank through the side of the wall and arresting everybody, not for being criminals and gangsters and arms dealers, but for violating a curfew.
That's how you got to get them. They got Al Capone on tax
I'm gonna do
evasion.
some massive property damage and probably run over some poor street urchin with my huge tank.
I mean, if not run over, at the very least, the structural damage you've caused will probably have injured somebody.
Yeah, just because they're violating a
Boulders falling.
curfew.
That's the true American in him.
I mean, that's when I knew he was American.
Yeah.
And he had some one-liner. Feel free to chime in here if you guys remember any of these bits that were.
I watched this movie last night, and no.
Yeah, his one-liners are bad. All of the good ones are Bison's. It's not just the delivery. Like they're just not. They're really not.
I mean, they're borderline unintelligible sometimes.
Yeah. The whole bit with how and why the plan that Guile comes up with to get Ken and Ryu to to ingratiate them towards Sagat didn't make sense to me. It was like, yeah, they're enemies. He hates, like, he has some
It's so
weird
funny.
line where he's like, yeah, maybe we can't convince him to accept a new friend, but how about a new enemy? Like, it's some brilliant idea, and it's like, what the
Yes.
fuck? Because they just end up making him a friend because the main thing of it revolves around them pretending to kill Guile, and like they fake Guile's death.
And also the whole implication of this plot is that no one else knows about it. So he's also like a war criminal now because he's helped these guys escape.
No, well, I don't necessarily know if that was true because
Not even the blonde knows he's alive. She thinks he's dead.
I don't think so. I didn't think so because I thought she's the one that he's like telling his plan to. Like who does he deliver that line to? Like, what if they'll accept he'll accept an enemy if not a friend? I think that was to Cammy.
It is to Cammy.
So I'm pretty sure they knew about it. I'm pretty sure they knew about it. When she thought he was dead was in the very end when the castle thing fucking blows up. So I don't know.
I guess it's just Chun-Li that actually thinks he's dead for a minute, and then
because she's a reporter. She's not part of the.
She's a ninja
reporter.
reporter.
and
The ninja reporter.
Yeah, basically it turns out she's a fake reporter who's had this long ass plan to infiltrate
Long
Bison's
con.
group because, while he was an up and coming warlord, he killed her father.
Yeah, she was Wantiga Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
And yeah, she's got her crew who are, two other characters, the sumo Honda and the boxer Balrog, who originally was
So
in the I was looking up the stuff about Street Fighter lore that the Balrog character was originally named super close to and was meant to be a pastiche of Mike Tyson, but they
yeah.
they swapped that character, whatever the character's name is, they swapped it with Balrog to make sure that they wouldn't get sued eventually.
So they swapped it
Balrog's
with the thing of the Tolkien
hairline.
estate,
Oh,
which
it's
is
so
definitely not
good, dude.
litigious.
Dude's got a widow's peak and extreme receding hairline.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Well,
He had a Vegeta
his
hairline.
Because here's the thing, it was definitely a
No,
wig,
it was
too.
not a wig.
I think it
No.
was. It looked like a wig.
I don't think it was.
That looked like a piece.
I think
but that looked
if
like a
it
hair
was-
piece, and I was just like, at that
it
point,
looks like they cut and into and shaved very
it was
nicely.
it was a
and, like,
stylistic choice
yeah.
to give him
I
a
think so.
widow's
I
peak
think
and
I
male
think it
pattern
was a
baldness.
combo of the two. I think they shaved some off and then put a hairpiece on for the
For the widow's peak.
yeah.
It
It was
was
fucked, whatever it was.
it was pretty funny.
That's my sleep paralysis demon.
It
Yeah,
was a
so
Vegeta hairline.
Honda, also one of my favorite characters. Loved Honda.
there's like the whole bits of her plan, and she like infiltrates the compound, blows part of it up, then does another infiltration. There's multi levels of her thing that's not worth getting into, but basically Ken and Ryu foil their plan in order to like further ingratiate themselves to Bison and all that. And so that then results in my actual favorite part of the movie, and it's when Bison takes uh Chun-Li to his apartments. And we already talked about the funny bit of like to me that was just Tuesday. That's a great line. But
Yep.
what was actually my absolute favorite bit of the entire film is she's like monologuing, talking about all these things. Bison just strolls behind the changing curtain, changes into like a velour smoking jacket and pajamas, and then there's a hat rack with all his soldier hats. He takes off his regular one and then just puts back on his pajama.
Matching
his pajama
hat, yeah.
That's his
version.
casual hat.
It's his casual velour skull Third Reich hat. Was my favorite bit of the entire thing. Is that he's got
It was beautiful.
his smoking jacket on, looking like Hugh Hefner, and then he's got a matching hat that he puts on.
So-
It's great.
I want to pause to talk about a character that we haven't brought up yet, and his name is DJ. And
Oh yeah, he's Bison's like tech guy.
Yeah.
Yes. And he is by far the other than Bison, because Bison's untouchable. DJ was incredible because
I did like DJ and what's his name, Zangief. Like his Bison's two main henchmen.
Yeah. But DJ cut in from like sometimes he would be doing like a black accent, sometimes he was doing like an Indian accent, or
I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be
he's
that he
Jamaican.
was Caribbean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. At some point he
but-
says, "Jamaica, here I come," when he's trying to escape.
but like he was doing a terrible job at a Jamaican accent. It was just like it was sometimes like being like really like hard, and then sometimes like very nerdy. And I thought it was an incredible
I also like that character because he's played by Miguel Nunez Jr., who is the classic leading role in the film Juana Man from the early
Yes.
2000s.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
I knew I recognized him.
He's got an incredible hairline too.
That movie.
That was clearly a haircut. That one was clearly a haircut.
Yeah, no, for sure. But he just has a 5 head.
Yeah, so Ken and Ryu get inaugurated into the organization. They get they're made full members. They've earned their trust. Chun-Li is imprisoned. Honda and Balrog are being tortured. They try to escape eventually, but stupid men getting in the way of girl bossing to the point where it distracts her, that Bison's able to get away and seal himself in an airtight chamber as he sleep gases everybody else.
I mean, are you a dictator if you don't have a safe room in your bedroom that floods your bed chamber with toxic gas?
With neurotoxin? And then let's talk about the stealth the stealth boat, the plan the plan to infiltrate or to attack the Bison hideout with AN troops.
That scene is so great. They go into stealth mode, which is for the radar. So, but for some reason, the boat also gets camo. The boat also gets camouflage on it somehow.
It's
through
active
some
camo.
technology.
Radar can't bounce off surfaces if you can't see them. It's just
Yeah, I guess
Dude,
that's
it
how
was
that
so
works.
funny to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, they have stealth mode, which makes them invisible to radar. What's a way to make sure that they know that something's coming? Let's blow up their radar installations,
Yeah.
so they can see that something is coming.
And then when they're looking at the video link,
Yeah.
and there's just massive wakes, but they're
There's a
acting
wake.
like they can't see
There's
anything.
just a
It's
huge
so
boat
funny.
wake. It's a huge boat wake with nothing there. It's like, what?
it's the equivalent
that
of
killed
like
me.
the equivalent in a video game when the enemy goes invisible, but you can see their footprints in the snow or sand.
Yeah. Oh, very funny. That cracked me.
Well, that plan goes to shit, obviously. And I don't know how much of we don't need, there's really not much else about the plot that we need to get into. That like the troops attack. There's killing on both sides. There's the whole bit with Blanca being no, I'm still human inside, and
Yeah,
I'm not going to be made a weapon. And
he goes to mercy kill him before that man has said more than 2 words.
yeah,
He just
it was
knows that he can
amazing.
actually
It was
talk
amazing.
still.
and just pulls out
Dude,
his nine.
he fucking Lenny'd him. He wanted to fucking pop him right in the back of the head.
Oh, he said 2 words and he's like, if you say any more, I'm gonna feel much more guilty about this.
Yeah. One other there was a moment in this like fight scene where they tried to give Guile some charisma and it didn't really work when he's like on the like catwalk and M Bison's forces are like have him cornered and he like pulls out his knife and like thinks that he scares him away with the knife and then turns around and like his forces are all there with Cammy and like
I thought that was a funny joke.
it was a
he
funny
doesn't
joke
have
but
Riz.
his delivery on it was just like, I mean, honestly, it was probably one of the better ones because he didn't say much.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just waving a knife around and facial expressions.
I did also find in the final like battle scenes that it was very funny to watch Guile get shot at by like 50 dudes with machine guns and not have any cover and not take a single hit, just
Laser dodged every fucking bullet.
for like full minute.
That was impressive.
they do have like in this kind of climax, they
Guile's
have
got
like
blonde hair. Is he a Super Saiyan? I mean,
Dude, the bleach job was so bad too. Yeah, so in this like final kind of, well, I want to say that the final confrontation went on way too fucking long. There were like a couple fake outs
There
with
was enough. That
deaths.
was one of the other moments where I looked down and was like, wow, this movie still has time left.
Like it just seemed like it was coming to a conclusion, and then it's just like, oh no, that was only phase one of the fight, and it was a lot. But like then, because then at one point, Bison, is like, yeah, I got this special suit that lets me have electrical powers type of shit, and I'm gonna zap.
Yeah, out of nowhere, he's just like, "Oh, I can fly,
You've got
They
superconducting
and
fly
boots.
now.
and I have Sith lightning."
Yeah, yeah. Um, and Guile does make the good point. It's like, what the fuck? You were all about like the honor of hand to hand combat and the honor of defeating me as a warrior and all these things, and yet here you are, yeah, Sith lightning my balls. Um, but like, yeah, Bison appears to die like twice. He like throws him into like different bits of the his high tech setup, like into like a hard
It's
drive
electrocuted.
bank, and it gets electrocuted like twice. Yeah, and then gets eventually gets tossed to his wall of monitors. But yeah, so the technology is so advanced, yet they still don't have a big, he hasn't invented projection technology. He has to have like 500 CRT monitors to display his big picture.
It
And
was
yeah,
fantastic.
he
That's why I'm
basically
All
still
the
using a CRT monitor today.
he basically gets crucified on them. He gets kicked into it, and it's just like, yeah. So he's like flying at him, trying to do like a Superman move at Guile, and Jean Claude, does a roundhouse kick and kicks him, 100 feet back the direction he came into this wall of monitors, and the place blows up. You think Guile's dead. Everybody is crying and sad, and including all new allies. Yeah, because the other good joke that I enjoyed was his Bison's main henchman Zangief basically just being like, you know, all it took to convince him to switch sides is like that. No, Bison is the
Is the
real one
bad
is the
guy.
true enemy of freedom and peace. And he's like, basically, you're telling me that he was the bad guy all along. And yeah, the actor did a good job playing a big dumb idiot, so that was fun.
Yeah, that was the first documented sign of someone using Naruto's famous talk no jutsu technique of convincing bad people that they're actually not bad people and to join the good guys.
Yeah, that's classic anime shit. Enemy becomes best friendo. Yeah, so
Vegeta,
like
I know you just killed like all these people, but like, what if we're friends now?
begrudging allies. And then I mean the movie ends with them doing like a classic, it's basically like it's everybody's like,
Victory
doing
pose.
victory pose, thumbs up to the camera, winking, everybody's doing their weird flexing, and and that's it basically. There was a post-credit scene that apparently
Can't
I did
believe
not
Marvel would
catch.
do that.
had been kept out of the theatrical release out of respect for
People's time.
Wow.
for
Wow.
no
A
it's
better
out of
time for audiences.
out of respect for um for Raul Julia, since he had passed away. Basically it's insinuating that guy or no, not Guile, that Bison was not actually dead, or like, that was brought back to life, and he would return for a future installment of some kind, and that obviously didn't happen. There was, an intended sequel that got canceled. Then they rebooted and did a Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun Li, which was apparently terrible. Oh,
I mean, this movie
Michael
had
Clark Duncan's in
a
that.
resounding 11% on Rotten Tomatoes when I went to rent it.
It does. I am surprised it didn't get a sequel just on the fact that it made pretty much $100 million.
Yeah, it made money. It was a
good
box office
amount.
success.
But
The
Pretty-
first
that's still
instance,
back in the day when there was more ideas than, well, we just got to make another sequel because it already made money once.
Yeah, they were more focused on they cared more about review. They cared more about reviews than they do now.
Yeah.
Now it's purely just to make that money. Apparently, there's as of last year, Legendary Entertainment has acquired the film rights and is in discussions with Alan Ritchson, which you guys
Oh,
might,
that would be
which you
fun.
guys might know as Jack Reacher from the Amazon Reacher show, or
Or Thad if
or
you're a
Thad.
real.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you're a real head,
I'm
yeah,
so
it's Thad Castle. But yeah, for him
how'd
to
you
play
get the name Thad? Because
for
I
him
had
to
a
play
lisp and I
Guile.
told her that I was so sad. I'm so sad.
Love Alan Richardson.
Yeah, but he said that he's apparently in talks to play Guile, which would be
That's
cool.
that's a perfect Guile
Mhm.
Yeah,
cast.
At least he's American.
And if they give him the hair too,
Yeah,
is he
Yeah,
American or is he
if they're gonna
Canadian?
do it,
He's
I need a
American.
hair beam.
he's American. He's from Florida.
The
No,
most
he might be
American that you could
Canadian.
possibly be.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so this is another one of those ones where it's like, what it's adapting has no actual fucking plot, basically. So how can this actually be a successful adaptation? There's not much there to begin with. They throw in a bunch of characters and they make them fights. And do they actually call Ken and Ryu Street Fighters at one point?
I believe
say
I
that?
remember that.
Yeah, they do say it, I think.
There was
See, if the
definitely
movie
one
was better,
point-
I would have pointed at the
there
screen.
is a point at the screen moment where they say the thing. But yeah, I found a lot of this to be just kind of forgettable or just kind of boring. But then like
The reason I watched it last night was so that I would actually have something of it in my memory by the time we spoke about it.
there were then other things that were definitely real highlights and really funny and worth watching for sure. But like, do I recommend this movie to people? And to casual people? No. To fans of Street Fighter, probably not even then.
I mean, Raul Julia is really kind of what makes this movie. And then personally,
Yeah.
I kind of I do like the campiness of it. I think it is it's fun. It's a fun camp in my opinion.
I mean, once I approached it with the mindset of I'm basically just watching an extended Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, it's a camp like martial art. It is like a martial arts movie mixed with like a more of like a cop movie than a James Bond movie, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But, like
I think the cop
almost
versus
satirically.
James Bond is a good.
There is no like buddy cop relationship, right?
No, it's closer to like the Die Hard type of cop story.
Yeah.
But Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
He's a
this is
cop.
most definitely not that. All right, so
I do want to say there were two lines that made me chuckle that I thought were very funny, and they were both from Bison, where in different ways he says that like despite being the piece of shit he is, corporations are still gonna support him and work with him, and he says it like a couple different times and points to that as why he's been successful too. And I did kind of like that, just slight critique of our corporate capitalist overlords.
1994 was a big year in in fighting corporatism. That's the year that Nike got exposed for its sweatshop work and
For the first time.
signed yeah, for the first time, and signed like one of the first like corporate like pledges to not use like that type of labor.
Mm.
you guys know that there was a Street Fighter 2 animated movie that also came out in 1994?
Yeah, because it came up as an option when I searched it on the PlayStation.
Dude, Bryan Cranston is a dubs
Fantastic.
somebody.
Amazing.
I hope it's M. Bison.
It's not. It's,
Damn.
who does Bison?
That would be hilarious.
Who does Bison is a rough Google search.
Yeah, nobody we know. But yeah, so that's actually the thing is that it was Balrog and M Bison that were, those are the character names that were swapped. So in Japan, the it's like, yeah, it's actually no, there's a bunch that are swapped around.
Well, that makes sense because Mike Tyson, M. Bison.
Balrog, Vega, and M Bison are swapped around a bunch depending on. Whereas, yeah, it was supposed to be, yeah, Mike Bison instead of Mike Tyson.
Mike Bison.
Yeah, they're like, oh, he might sue us for that, so let's swap that around. But in here, the only name that I actually recognize for the English dub is Bryan Cranston. It's funny. Yeah, I don't recognize any of those other ones. All right, so what do we rank this as a movie?
I'm gonna give this a 6.4.
What's I mean, you've already talked about it, but what's there any extra reasoning behind it?
I think what you said of like, would I recommend this to someone generally, kind of is my guide there, because I would say no, and I think like a 7 is what I consider to be something that I would recommend. So but I still personally enjoyed it, so I'm gonna put it just kind of below the point where it would be rounded up to a 7 too. So like a 6. It rounds down, but it's a little bit better than a 6.
I see that.
On very similar reasoning, I'll give it a 6.6. I still wouldn't recommend it. I'm not gonna round it up to I think 7's a good, like, you could recommend that to someone.
A decent enough use of your time.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
that the point of where you can
Depending on
recommend a
the
movie
type
to
of
someone
person.
is also a sliding scale of who you're recommending it to.
Yes,
Like if I go to
but, like,
work
I
and
wouldn't.
my coworker who plays League of Legends is like, "Yo, you got any movie recs for me?" I'm like, "Yo, watch the 1994 Street Fighter. You're gonna love it. Greatest movie of all time."
I think
I mean,
I
sure.
feel like I've rated some things at a 5 or lower, but I'm trying to like think of what those were, and is like, did I enjoy those more or less?
Monster
We need to
Hunter is
hire an
one of them.
intern.
I
We
feel
need to
like
hire an intern
I
to just
feel
listen to the podcast
I
and
feel like
catalog
I feel
our
like we
scores.
rated Monster Hunter worse than
Definitely,
Yeah,
that
I
was
think that
under a
was in like
5
a 4.
for sure.
Yeah,
That was like,
I think that was like a 4.6 or
I'm
something.
I'm gonna give it a 5.9 because I don't feel like it fully makes the passing grade.
Fair enough.
It's
I give it
again,
a 4.5.
yeah, I
And I
think
give it
that's
a
fair.
4.5 on the basis of it didn't speak enough to me as to why it needed to exist.
All right,
And if I'm ever watching a
that's
movie
fair.
and my phone is in the other room and I feel like I should go grab my phone, then the movie is not
It was
doing
too
enough.
confused for itself. It didn't
Yeah.
it didn't actually
It-
have a clear idea of what it wanted to
We
do.
said it earlier. If they had just stuck with a tournament style arc movie, it probably would have been fine. And I would have been much more involved with these characters, watching them go through more struggle.
I would like to adjust my score. This is the first time I think in Campaign Comrades history this has been done. But Matt said something that was important to me. He said this movie doesn't have a reason to exist, and I think that's kind of true. And my score was based on it existing, but it would have a reason to exist if it had oiled up Jean-Claude Van Damme's abs.
Or let
So
him do a split.
or let him do it. I mean, it needs the abs and the split. It can't just have the split. It still wouldn't have been enough to just have a split. Needed abs and split. So
He needs
I'm
to wink
gonna,
at. He needs to wink at me while he's doing it.
yeah, I'm gonna adjust. I'm gonna adjust down to. I'm gonna. I'll go to a 6-4 with Andrew.
All right,
Mark
thank
this
you.
point in history, I made an argument that swayed someone 0.2 points in a different direction.
It brings us down from a 5.85 to a 5.8.
I like it. It's clean.
Nice. Yeah, I did that for you, Matt.
Is it
I
actually
think
5.8 or is it
no, it's
actually
five. It was 5.8 clean. It was 5.8
5.8
clean. So, which I think is fair. I think that's fine. In terms of is this a successful adaptation? I don't know. I have to say
I
it's
think
like
this
I
this
can
falls into
I
an
can
NA
either,
category.
but
It
yeah, because
almost
it's like
doesn't count.
I can't give it too high of a score, but I also can't give it too low of a score because and
The characters are there.
the characters are there, so
I
it's
can
like
lower the score because Guile isn't actually American,
yeah, so
and
like what
they're
else?
trying to lie to me.
But I would argue that in a similar way, Mortal Kombat is a better adaptation.
Sure.
And
Sure.
and so
More
that's
faithful
why
to
I think
the raw idea of Mortal Kombat.
yeah, and like this is just a movie that could completely exist without having
Without
any
these
Street
characters,
Fighter
without these
If
like
you took all of
characters,
the Street
yeah.
Fighter like character names out and just replaced them with generic like uh region specific naming nomenclature,
Yeah,
it would
it's like
exist
interchangeable.
on its own
they
as an
maybe
action
would have
movie.
cut a few things, like they would have cut the Blanca plot line and all
Yeah.
that, and it still would have worked fine. So like if they just make all those people just regular characters, yeah. So I don't
The
know.
only part of the Blanca,
Replace Shabaloo with any other Southeast Asian country that they were using to demonize.
I'll give it a 6. I'll give it a 6.
5 on that. It's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think it
yeah, I
falls
was
into
honestly
five,
gonna
just
give 5.
dead center.
Yeah.
Neither good nor bad. Can't be good or bad.
Yeah,
Almost falls into not applicable.
it gives us a
Yeah.
5.25 rating for adaptation. Also, I think fair. Largely inoffensive in terms of its adaptation, but yeah, it doesn't do anything interesting either.
No, but like you made the point of like you can't show this to a Street Fighter fan because they're probably not going to care. Like you can't show this to a casual fan because they're probably not going to care. You probably could show this to a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan and they're probably just going to get mad.
no, they'll like it because they just love him.
But he's
Yeah.
like barely in the
But
movie.
no abs.
he's not in he is not in a lot of it. That is true. He's not given a whole lot to work with, but
He got
And
a
how
huge
pissed would they be
paycheck
when
for
he
nothing.
dies? Jean-Claude doesn't die.
but that's so scripted. You know that's fake. You know that's
Yeah.
not real. Like they do it. They set it up right after like his like wink wink nudge nudge plan. So you know that's what's happened. That was never a surprise. The one where you could maybe be like, oh, did he actually die? Was when the fucking temple thing, the hideout
Yeah.
blew up at the end.
Explodes.
Because they do
Yo,
not show him at
I
all
just
escaping.
realized
Like
how
literally,
much in common.
he's in
He's
the
in the
center.
middle of it.
He's
Yeah,
in
he's
the
in the middle.
center of the thing right as the
As it
fucking charges blow
explodes.
up.
Do
Well, I
you
don't know how
realize
he
how much this
survived
movie
that.
has in common with Balls of Fury?
Yeah.
Balls of
That's just like
Fury is almost a Mortal Kombat crossed with this in a weird way.
I rewatched that not too long ago. It's still funny.
Yes, it is.
Christopher Walken still kills it.
Absolutely.
Or as the Chinese say, ping pong.
Ping pong. All right, folks. On that note, I think that's where we'll leave it for today. I realized what happened when my computer cycled is because our power went out, and
Yeah.
we went over to the
Oh, so you
backup.
switched over to batteries.
Switched over to the battery, and it seemed like it was seamless enough that I didn't lose connection. So hopefully the recording is
I
solid and
didn't
still
notice
there.
anything.
And
Yeah, you didn't go out on my own.
fingers crossed that this
As
recording
someone who
makes
works in that
Thank you,
particular
out right.
Elon.
sector, it's supposed to be seamless.
We will be back maybe next week, no promises, next week for the promised continuation of the Call of Cthulhu episode. That's going to be
Yeah, my
dependent
internet's
upon,
back to working again, so
it's dependent upon my work schedule that weekend, which I may have some time. I may be able to, but it's a little bit, I won't know till closer. But if not, you will see us again at the end of the month for our news roundup. And that will see us through the end of June. You'll have to stay tuned to see what adaptation we do next month. Until then, you can support us by following and subscribing at twitch.tv/campaignComrades, CamCompod, and all the socials. You know the drill. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.